I guess I just couldn't have a freaking perfect day, could I? No, of course not. Apparently that was me just asking for too much. Because right after I watch a great movie like The Bike Riders, now I gotta watch a piece of trash. A piece of trash that is triple the length of Bike Riders, has probably a way bigger budget than the Bike Riders, and yet fails in literally every single conceivable way imaginable. And the worst part is, it's only the first half of the story. Time to tear this thing apart. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, your number one station for anything and everything animation, including TVs and movies. I'm your host, Jackson Small. I just suffered through the 3-hour snooze fest that is Horizon and American Saga, Chapter 1. This movie blows. Like, it is one of the most boring, tedious things I think I have ever sat through in my life. And keep in mind, I have watched a lot of bad, boring movies. So, for me to call it that is saying something. This is a movie that I did have a little bit of expectation for. I mean, middling expectation, because I barely even knew about it, but still, expectation. Because it was a Western, it was a 2-part story, it was supposed to tell, 4 years that happened in the West during the times of the Civil War. That sounds almost right up my alley. Yes, I'm not the biggest fan of Westerns, but there are good ones, and I was willing to give it a try. And then I started hearing about how it's 3 hours long, despite the fact it's only one half of the complete story. Yeah, that was bothersome, but after watching Bike Riders, I had some nice, positivity, I'll say, because I was like, well, this is a really good history period piece movie. Maybe this can be that too. No. I was engaged for only a half hour, and the rest of the time I was bored out of my freaking skull. This is one of the most boring, contrived, derivative, and terrible movies I think I have ever seen. And those saying that Kevin Costner's biggest failure is Waterworld, this makes that look like a quality product. Yes, this movie really is that bad, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm not even going to give this the dignity of a super detailed review because it doesn't deserve it. I'm going to be blunt and brutally honest here. Horizon is one of the most disappointing, aimless, uninteresting, unfocused, haphazard, contrived, cliche, derivative, incomplete, unoriginal, and relentlessly boring movies that I have seen in a long time. And just the mere fact that there's still a second chapter still to come makes me seriously question what the hell they were thinking. I'm sure it had good intentions, and it does have one legitimately incredible scene in the beginning. The beginning where the Indians attack a village. That scene is fantastic. That fit what they were trying to go for, and it was legitimately effective. That was the one time of the movie I was actually invested. Because you see this family in this village trying to fight off all these natives that are trying to get in the house. These Apache Indians that are invading this village and literally killing everything and everyone in sight. It is very tension-fueled, and it is a great scene. If the whole movie was this scene, I would be up here singing its praises to high heaven. But it's not. It was that one scene, and the rest of the movie's trash. I'm sure it had good intentions, but this is such a pointless, overhyped disaster that it makes Waterworld look like Citizen Kane. Maybe it's because Westerns aren't usually my thing. Maybe it's because of its obnoxious 3-hour runtime. Seriously, whoever thought this movie needed to be 3 hours, no, you were wrong. You were horribly wrong. You're not the Batman. You can't actually utilize that time well. Or probably both. But I absolutely hate this one with every fiber of my soul. And considering the fact that both the excellent Gunsmoke series came out decades before, this is from the 50s and 60s. And even Yellowstone, in its most bland moments was still better than this. And both of these shows had a smaller budget, a much smaller budget than this apparently big budget, big production feature film thing. And taking that into account, this just makes this insufferable failure even more inexcusable, because if this and Yellowstone can do more with TV budgets than your big budget feature-length movie, you have failed in whatever you were trying to do. Honestly, I don't even want to see Chapter 2, because I bet you it's just going to be the same song and dance. The more I talk about this movie, the more angry I get, so let's just move on. Honestly, if it weren't for that one amazing, excellent scene, this would be a 0. And the only movie I've given a 0 so far was Strangers Chapter 1. Yes, it's that bad. And apparently, when this was originally debuted, I think in France last year, at least according to some of my sources online, they absolutely loved it. They thought it was an incredible movie that was going to change the world. No, this is just the typical, generic, boring, dull, monotonous, and pointless big-budget movie that is probably destined to bomb. And it just makes me feel bad for everyone involved, because there is legitimate talent here. All the people that play that family in that scene are fantastic. But I don't know if it was the writing, I don't know if it was the direction, but almost everyone else in this movie, Costner included, is bad. But that one family in the beginning of the movie that we actually get a little bit of time with is legitimately great. Those people put in great performances, and like I said, the one time that I got invested was that part and that scene and those characters. Outside of that, this movie has no real characters. This movie has no real story. It's just 3 hours of boring, monotonous trash. And because of that, it gets a final verdict of a damning but well-deserved 2 out of 10. It is trash, it is garbage, and it is probably going to be one of the biggest disasters of the year. My one friend, Clayton, online, after I posted my written review, said that this is probably the Western equivalent of Rebel Moon. A movie series that's so bad that I even refuse to review it. And yeah, I can see where he's coming from, because they're both 2 parts, they're both obnoxiously long, and they both suck hard. So I see where the comparison comes from, and honestly, it's a very good comparison. Because both of them are pretty much copies of each other. One for space and sci-fi, and one for freaking boring westerns. Look, I know that some people really love westerns, and like I said, I love this. I love Gunsmoke. I love this show. But it takes a lot for me to actually get invested in a western, because most of the time it's just the same tired crap that we've dealt with for years in a million other movies and a million other TV shows. Like I said, I am not a huge fan of Yellowstone. I think that series is extremely overrated. But I can see why people like it. But a trash bag like this, I mean, outside of maybe history teachers that understand the references, or if any of these are true stories or not, maybe they'll find some value. But outside of that, this just feels like a movie that was overhyped to high heaven and is now going to bomb hard into the deepest, darkest pits of hell. I wouldn't be surprised if it makes my top 5 of my worst lists this year. Because this movie really sucks that hard. And as of right now, it's also probably my most disappointing movie of the year. Because if they decide to actually try, not make the movie 3 hours long, actually make it a freaking contained, focused story with actual characters, this could have been something really, really special. But nope, in every single way possible, they fumbled the ball and wasted a lot of money, time, and talent. Don't watch this movie, plain and simple. Don't watch it. It's not worth your time. Even if you are a historian, it's not worth your time. It is absolute boring gutter trash. Leave it in the desert to be buried by the sands of time. That's it. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more pleasant reviews every single day. And until the next review, I'm Jet Small of Animation Station, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
We cannot take it anymore. The time is coming. Prepare to fight. We're ready for.